In a small, isolated village, there stood an old colonial house that loomed like a forgotten giant. The villagers avoided this house. They called it the Woodpecker House, not because of its beautiful colonial architecture, but due to the strange knocking sounds that echoed from it every night. Alita, an archaeology student working on a project about old colonial buildings, decided to investigate this house. Her grandfather, a former caretaker of the house, had always forbidden Alita from approaching it. But Alita's curiosity won over. The day Alita arrived in the village, rain poured heavily. The path to the house was muddy, making each step a struggle. When she reached the gate, the air felt colder than usual. The ancient trees surrounding the house's yard swayed gently, as if watching her every move. "It's just an old house," Alita whispered to herself. But out of the corner of her eye, she thought she saw something move in the window on the upper floor. As Alita entered the house, the scent of dampness and rotting wood hit her immediately. Old furniture covered in white sheets made the room look like a tomb. The floor creaked with each step, and she felt as if something was watching her. Her attention was drawn to a tattered carpet in the living room. Beneath it, she discovered a small door leading to the basement. She carefully opened it, revealing a set of wooden stairs descending into the darkness. A chill gripped her face. Holding her flashlight, Alita descended the stairs. The basement was larger than she had imagined, like a forgotten labyrinth. Old wooden shelves were lined with glass bottles containing strange liquids. In the corner of the room, there were several large, tightly sealed wooden crates. As she approached one of the crates, whispers sounded behind her. She turned, but no one was there. Only her long shadow danced on the wall. Alita decided to stay overnight in the house. She felt that this challenge was part of her research. But the first night became the beginning of her nightmare. Around midnight, she was awoken by a knocking sound. It was soft at first, then grew louder. The sound was coming from the basement door. With her heart pounding, Alita walked toward the door and found it now wide open. A chill swept through the house. When she shined her flashlight down the basement stairs, she saw something that almost made her lose her balance, muddy footprints on the steps. But she was certain no one had entered the house. She quickly shut the door, then returned to her room. But just as she turned off the light, she heard footsteps slowly approaching her room. She held her breath. Her bedroom door creaked slightly but did not open. The tension lingered until dawn. The next day, Alita returned to the basement with the intention of investigating further. The wooden crate that had been sealed shut yesterday was now open. Inside, she found a pile of human bones. The bones looked like the remains of forgotten victims. Next to the bones was an old leather-bound book. When Alita opened it, she found writing in a language she did not understand. On the last page was a warning. "Whoever opens this crate will awaken the house's guardian. Leave this place before night falls, or you will become part of this house forever." Suddenly, she heard footsteps approaching. She hid the book and fled upstairs. But this time, the wooden stairs behind her collapsed, trapping her below. That night, Alita tried to find a way out. She discovered a small door hidden in the basement wall. When she opened it, a dark corridor with strange markings on the walls greeted her. The markings looked like spells or warnings in an ancient language. She followed the corridor, which grew narrower and more suffocating. At the end of the corridor was a large room with an altar in the center. Atop the altar was an old coffin. As Alita approached the coffin, she heard whispers growing louder, like thousands of people speaking at once. The lid of the coffin slowly opened, and from within emerged a woman with a mangled face, black eyes and long, sharp nails. The woman moved swiftly, crawling out of the coffin while hissing. Alita tried to run, but the corridor behind her was now blocked by a stone wall. The woman approached and Alita tried to speak, but her voice was caught in her throat. The woman pointed toward the altar where a large mirror hung. Alita was forced to approach the mirror. When she looked into it, she did not see her own reflection, but all the victims who had ever entered the house. Alita realized she had become trapped in an endless cycle of horror. Finally, the woman touched her forehead and everything went dark. A week later, the villagers noticed the house was quieter than ever. They heard the knocking sounds grow louder every night, but no one dared approach. Alita was never found, and the book she had taken remained buried in the basement, waiting for the next victim.